help me reach 1,000 subscribers. Please like the video and share your thoughts on the video. Your feedback helps make the contents better. Now let's get to the story.
My name is David Mitchell. I'm 34 years old, and I'm standing in the lobby of Meridian Tech Solutions, watching some asshole walk out of my wife's building wearing my face. Well, not literally my face. That would be a horror movie. But he's wearing the confidence of a man who belongs here. The security guard is pointing at him like he just won a prize on a game show. That's him right there, sir, Mrs. Mitchell's husband. The man, tall, salt and pepper hair, expensive suit that probably costs more than my car payment, doesn't even glance my way. He's too busy checking his phone, smiling at something on the screen, probably a text from my wife, the wife I've been married to for 6 years, the wife who apparently has a whole separate husband for work hours. I should be angry. I should be throwing punches or making a scene. But here's the thing about betrayal. Sometimes it hits you so absurdly that all you can do is laugh. And I did laugh. A short, sharp bark of a laugh that made the security guard uncomfortable. "You okay, sir?" he asked. "Yeah," I said, watching the fake husband climb into a Mercedes. "Yeah, I'm perfect." Before we continue, I want to take a moment to thank you for being here. If this story resonates with you, please subscribe and ring that bell. And for our friends in the US and the Philippines, we'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Your voice truly matters to us, and it helps us grow and connect on a deeper level. Let me back up a bit. My name is David Mitchell, and up until about 3 minutes ago, I thought I had a pretty decent life. I'm a freelance graphic designer, which is a fancy way of saying I work in sweatpants and have anxiety about invoices. My wife, Caroline, is the CEO of Meridian Tech Solutions, a cybersecurity firm she built from the ground up. We met 7 years ago at a coffee shop where she was having a meltdown over a failed investor meeting, and I spilled espresso on her laptop. Somehow that turned into love, or what I thought was love. Caroline was always ambitious. That's what I loved about her. While I was content with small clients and creative freedom, she wanted to conquer the world. And she did. 3 years into our marriage, her company exploded. Government contracts, corporate partnerships, the works. She went from working in our spare bedroom to a corner office downtown with a view that probably cost more than most people's houses. I was proud of her. Sure, we saw each other less. Sure, she missed dinner as in anniversaries, and that one time she forgot my birthday entirely. But I understood. Success demands sacrifice, right? That's what I kept telling myself every night I ate takeout alone, watching Netflix in our too-big house that she insisted we buy. "You deserve this," she'd say, kissing my forehead when she finally came home at midnight. "You've supported me through everything. Once things settle down, we'll take that trip to Italy, I promise." Italy never happened. Things never settled down. But I stayed patient, I stayed supportive, I stayed stupid. Today was supposed to be different. It's our 6th anniversary, the actual date this time, not the makeup dinner 3 weeks later. I took on fewer clients this month, cleared my schedule, and planned a surprise. I'd show up at her office with lunch from that Italian place she loves, the one we went to on our 1st anniversary, when things were still simple. We'd eat in her fancy office, laugh about how far we'd come, maybe remember why we fell in love in the first place. Romantic, right? Yeah, I thought so too. But now I'm standing here watching the security guard look at me with pity, and I'm realizing that while I was at home being the supportive husband, Caroline was downtown auditioning replacements. "Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to leave if you're not authorized personnel," the security guard said, less friendly now. I smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. "Don't worry, I'm leaving. But tell me something. How long has that guy been coming around?" The guard shifted uncomfortably. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Sure you don't." I turned to go, then stopped. "Does he bring her lunch? The real husband?" The guard didn't answer, but his face did. Yeah, he brought her lunch. I drove home in a fog, not the sad, devastated kind of fog, more like the kind where your brain is working so fast that reality feels slow. I kept replaying moments, Caroline's new perfume, the way she started sleeping with her phone face down, those weekend corporate retreats that came up suddenly, the time I suggested couples therapy, and she laughed like I'd told a joke. How long had I been the punchline? I pulled into our driveway, her driveway really, since her name was on the mortgage, and sat there. The house was one of those modern monstrosities with too much glass and not enough soul. Caroline picked it. Caroline paid for it. Caroline owned everything, including, apparently, the narrative of our marriage. My phone buzzed. A text from her. "Running late tonight. Don't wait up. Love you." Love you. 2 words that used to mean something. Now they just felt like the sign-off on a business email. I didn't respond. Instead, I went inside, poured myself a drink, the expensive whiskey Caroline kept for impressing clients, and started thinking. Because here's the thing about being a graphic designer. You learn to see things other people miss. Patterns, inconsistencies, the tiny details that don't quite line up. And Caroline's life? It had a lot of inconsistencies. I opened my laptop and started digging, not in a creepy, illegal way, just the normal level of investigation you'd expect from a man who just discovered his wife has a work husband. Social media, public records, LinkedIn, her company's website. That's when I found him, the fake husband. His name was Marcus Webb, and according to LinkedIn, he was Meridian's chief financial officer. There were photos of him and Caroline at company events, standing just a little too close. Articles about their dynamic partnership. One interview where Caroline called him the other half of Meridian's success. The other half. Interesting choice of words.
I kept scrolling. There, a photo from some tech conference 3 months ago. Caroline and Marcus, champagne glasses raised, her hand on his arm. She was wearing the diamond bracelet I'd given her for our 5th anniversary, the one she said she'd lost. If you're watching this and thinking, "David, maybe you're overreacting, maybe they're just colleagues," then you've clearly never been married, or you've never been married to someone who forgets you exist. Either way, stick around. It gets better. I spent the next week being the perfect husband. I smiled when Caroline came home late. I didn't ask about her day. I didn't mention the anniversary she forgot. I just watched and waited and planned. See, Caroline wasn't the only one who knew about cybersecurity. I'd designed the logo for her company. I'd helped set up her first website. I'd sat through countless dinners where she talked about firewalls and encryption and social engineering attacks. I'd absorbed more than she realized. And I'd kept something she didn't know about: the admin login to Meridian's internal network from the early days. She'd asked me to help set up some stuff when they were small, and I'd created a backdoor for easy access, just in case they needed emergency help with the website or branding materials. She'd forgotten about it. I hadn't. I wasn't going to do anything illegal. I'm not that guy. But I was going to look around. Just a little peek into the life my wife had been living without me. What I found was worse than an affair. It started with emails, hundreds of them between Caroline and Marcus. Some were professional, some were flirtatious, some were explicitly planning a future that didn't include me. But the worst ones? Those were about money. Caroline and Marcus had been skimming from the company. Not a lot, just enough that it wouldn't raise immediate red flags. Fake vendor invoices, inflated expense reports, money disappearing into offshore accounts. They'd been doing it for over a year, building a nest egg for the life they were planning together. The life that included a beach house in the Bahamas, the one I found property records for, purchased under an LLC they'd set up. The closing date? 2 weeks after our 5th anniversary, right around the time Caroline lost that bracelet. I sat back in my chair, staring at the screen. My wife wasn't just cheating on me. She was embezzling from her own company and planning to run off with her CFO boyfriend to live on stolen money. I could have gone to the police. I could have confronted her. I could have done the right thing. But where's the fun in that? Instead, I made a plan. A beautiful, detailed, absolutely perfect plan. Because if Caroline taught me anything, it's that success demands sacrifice. And I was about to sacrifice her entire world. The Meridian Tech Solutions annual board meeting was scheduled for Friday. Caroline had been preparing for weeks. It was the big one where they'd announce record profits and new government contracts. The meeting where Caroline would cement her legacy as a genius CEO. It was also going to be the meeting where everything fell apart. I spent 3 days preparing. I compiled every email, every financial record, every piece of evidence of Caroline and Marcus's little embezzlement scheme. I organized it into a presentation, professionally designed, of course. I'm nothing if not thorough. Then I did something arguably stupid. I contacted 3 members of Meridian's board of directors. Not the ones Caroline had in her pocket, but the independent ones. The investors who actually cared about the company beyond their own returns. I introduced myself as a concerned party with information about financial irregularities. I sent them previews, just enough to get their attention, just enough to make them demand a special session at the board meeting. Friday morning, I woke up before Caroline. She was already dressed, running through her presentation notes, high on nervous energy. "Big day," I said, handing her coffee. She smiled, that professional smile she had perfected. "The biggest. This contract alone will double our valuation." "I'm proud of you," I said, and I meant it in a twisted way. She'd built something impressive, even if she'd done it by lying to everyone, including herself. "Thank you for understanding," she said, kissing my cheek. "I know I've been distant. After today, things will be different. I promise." Different. She had no idea how different. "I believe you," I lied. After she left, I got dressed, not in my usual sweatpants and graphic tee, but in the suit I'd worn to our wedding. It still fit, mostly. I looked at myself in the mirror and barely recognized the guy staring back. When had I become so invisible? Today, I decided. Today, I become visible again. The Meridian building was busy when I arrived. People in suits rushing around, preparing for the big meeting. The same security guard from before was at the desk. "Can I help you, sir?" I smiled. "I'm here for the board meeting. David Mitchell. I should be on the list." I wasn't on the list, but when he called up to confirm, one of the board members I'd contacted told him to send me up. The guard's face was priceless, confused, suspicious, but ultimately obedient. "10th floor," he said slowly. "Conference room A." "Thanks. Hey, is the CEO's husband here yet? The real one, I mean?" His face went red. I walked away before he could answer. The conference room was exactly what you'd expect. Glass walls, expensive furniture, a view of the city that reminded everyone how important they were. Board members were filing in, taking their seats. Caroline was at the head of the table, Marcus beside her. They looked confident, powerful, untouchable.
They didn't notice me slip into the back of the room. Caroline started her presentation. It was good, I had to admit that. She talked about growth and innovation and market positioning. She showed graphs that went up and to the right, the way investors like. She made promises about the future. Marcus chimed in with financial projections, his voice smooth and assured. They played off each other perfectly, like they'd rehearsed, which they probably had. In bed, maybe. Then one of the board members, Richard Chen, the one I'd sent the most damning evidence to, cleared his throat. "Before we move to approval, I'd like to address some concerns that have been brought to my attention." Caroline's smile flickered, just for a second. "Of course, Richard, what concerns?" "Financial irregularities, specifically a pattern of suspicious transactions that suggest embezzlement." The room went silent. Marcus's face drained of color. Caroline's smile turned into something sharp and dangerous. "That's a serious accusation," she said, her voice ice. "Do you have proof?" "We do," Richard said. He nodded to me. "Mr. Mitchell, would you join us?" Every head in the room turned. Caroline saw me for the first time. Her expression cycled through confusion, recognition, and then something close to fear. "David, what are you doing here?" I walked to the front of the room, connecting my laptop to the presentation system. "Hi, Hummy. Sorry I'm late. Traffic was murder." "David, this is a private board meeting. You need to leave." "Actually," Richard said, "we've invited him as a concerned party with relevant information." I pulled up my presentation. The first slide was a wedding photo, me and Caroline, 6 years ago, smiling like we believed in forever. "My name is David Mitchell. I'm the CEO's husband, the real one, not the one who brings her lunch." I glanced at Marcus. No offense. Marcus looked like he might throw up. "Over the past year, my wife and her CFO have been embezzling from this company. Fake invoices, inflated expenses, money laundered through shell companies. They've stolen approximately $2.3 million. I clicked through slides. Each one showed a different piece of evidence: emails, bank records, property documents for the beach house. Caroline stood up. "This is absurd. David, you're clearly having some kind of breakdown." "Sit down, Caroline," Richard said quietly. It wasn't a request. She sat. I kept going. "They plan to take the money and disappear to the Bahamas. There's a house. I've got the deed here somewhere." I clicked through. "Ah, there it is. Purchased through Web Solutions, LLC. Creative name, guys, really." The board members were passing tablets around, reviewing the evidence. Their faces said everything. Now here's where it gets interesting, because while they were stealing from the company, Caroline was also lying to me, telling me she was working late, missing anniversaries, forgetting I existed. And you know what? I would have lived with that. I would have stayed in my lane, kept being the supportive husband, let her have her big career. I looked at Caroline. She was crying now, mascara running. Marcus had his head in his hands. But then I found out she was planning to leave, just disappear with Marcus and the money and start over, like our 6 years together meant nothing, like I was just furniture, something to be left behind with the old life. My voice cracked a little there, real emotion sneaking through. I cleared my throat. "So I figured if she gets to start over, so do I, but unlike her, I'm doing it honestly." Richard stood. "Miss Mitchell, Mr. Webb, this board is immediately suspending your positions pending a full investigation. Security will escort you out. We'll be contacting the authorities." Caroline lunged toward me. "You bastard! You've ruined everything." "No," I said calmly. "You did that yourself. I just made sure everyone else knew about it." Security guards, including my friend from downstairs, came in. Caroline was screaming now, saying I'd hacked the company, that I'd falsified evidence, that I was the criminal. Marcus just looked defeated, like he'd known this was coming eventually. As they were let out, Caroline turned back to me one last time. "I loved you," she said. "No," I replied. "You loved who I let you pretend to be." After they were gone, Richard approached me. "That took courage. Most people would have just walked away." "Yeah, well, I'm tired of walking away from things. The board will want to discuss compensation for your help, and there's the matter of your wife's assets." "Keep it," I said. "All of it. Use it to pay back what they stole. I don't want anything from her." That was mostly true. What I really wanted was already happening. Caroline's face on the news that evening, her company in chaos, her perfect life destroyed. I wanted her to feel what I felt standing in that lobby a week ago. Small, stupid, erased. Mission accomplished. 3 months later, I'm sitting in a much smaller apartment with much cheaper furniture, but it's all mine. Caroline and Marcus are awaiting trial. The company survived, barely. I got a quiet settlement from the board as a thank you for not going public first, enough to live comfortably while I rebuild my client list. I'm dating again. Nothing serious yet, but there's a woman I met at a coffee shop. Different coffee shop, better outcome. She's a teacher. She comes home at reasonable hours. She remembers my birthday. Sometimes people ask me if I regret what I did, if I feel bad about destroying Caroline's career, her reputation, her freedom.
The answer is no, not even a little bit. Because here's what I learned. Some people think they're untouchable. They think they can take and take and take, and the people they're taking from will just accept it. They think being successful or important or busy gives them permission to treat others like they don't matter. Caroline thought I was too weak to fight back, too comfortable, too in love. She was wrong about all of it. My name is David Mitchell. I'm 34 years old, I'm a freelance graphic designer, and I'm the man who taught a CEO that everyone has receipts, even the people you forget exist. Especially the people you forget exist. Well, that's my story. Sometimes the person you underestimate is the one who burns your whole world down. Karma doesn't always come naturally. Sometimes you have to be the delivery service. If you made it this far, do me a favor. Drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from. I want to know if this kind of betrayal is universal or if I just got spectacularly unlucky. Are relationships this messy everywhere, or is it just something in the water? Huge shout out to our viewers from the US, the Philippines, and Canada. You guys are absolutely crushing it in the comments lately. Seriously, the support and wild stories you share make creating these worth it. You're not just watching, you're part of the community, and I appreciate every single one of you. And hey, if you enjoyed watching Caroline's empire crumble as much as I enjoyed making it happen, smash that like button and subscribe. Trust me, I've got more stories coming that'll make this one look tame. Thanks for watching. Stay sharp out there. And remember, never underestimate the quiet ones. We're usually the ones taking notes.